Okay, don't adjust your sets. There's nothing wrong with your color. I got sunburnt today. I forgot to put on some sunscreen when I was working outside today, so good on me. So we have a bit of news to catch up on. Google Stadia was announced yesterday. I got a few things to say about that. Then we have the Nintendo Indies popped up today, so a lot of indie games are coming down the pipe, especially for Nintendo Switch. And a new Oculus Rift is on the way, so let's get into it. Gonna have my trusty Mountain Dew. Not sponsored, by the way. I wish. All right, Google Stadia announced. This is Google's streaming service, is what this is. Google Stadia that's all it is. I was hoping it would be hardware. The reason I was hoping it would be hardware is I just don't see game streaming really taking off, except in areas with really good internet. Now I can do it here, but I'm kind of the exception to the rule. My cable or my ISP more so, I should say now, because they're not even like a cable provider anymore. Matters of fact, when we were talking about what we could do to drop the price of our cable package, they straight up just told us to just get streaming to your house now. It's like we're not even going to try to sell it to you anymore. We're just an ISP. So my ISP is coax to the house, but part of the last mile infrastructure, like those little boxes you see on the side of the road that go out to the houses. Up to that point, it's fiber optic. So I've got kind of like a weird hybrid network going on in my area, but it does work very well. But a lot of people aren't going to have it. I'm sure like the area I grew up in, Ohio, probably doesn't have that kind of internet infrastructure, and something like this would be very hard to do. It was impressive what they showed. I like the YouTube integration. I like the YouTube integration from 2 points. I like the point of somebody could be playing a game like a game stream or something like that. And this is where I don't know what this is. I want to know what the pricing structure is, because if these games are $60, you got to remember the thing you're throwing away with convenience like this, being able to play it on your phone, tablet, TV through a Chromecast or a computer or whatever. You're throwing away ownership. Now, Google hasn't said what their ideal ownership situation is with their games, but essentially you don't own anything. If it's sitting in a database somewhere, you don't own it. So that's my first thing right there. That's my first question is, what's the game pricing? Because theoretically, it should be cheaper than even digital games. Is it going to be a service? These are things that they didn't talk about that I would really like to know. I'm sure those conversations are going to happen at GDC with the developers throughout the week, and we'll probably hear a little bit about that. So let's go into the specs of this thing. Surprisingly, the two things that we learned about this that I didn't expect is the server blades for Stadia that's actually doing the 3D rendering are custom-made AMD APUs, apparently, with they didn't say how many cores, but I'm assuming probably something similar to like a Threadripper processor, with like the little chiplets on board, because it still has to do some video encoding on there, unless they just have the video out from these things going directly to like a YouTube. Like when your video says processing, there's that's the encoder server they have that's doing that and splitting your video into the different resolutions. Unless they have something like that for each one of these, there's like a video encoder rack sitting right next to it, but I don't think that was the case from what they showed. So it sounds like these are some kind of custom AMD APUs. 2.7 gigahertz speed is all they said. They did say multi-threaded, so 2-core, 8-core, whatever. It's going to be hyper-threaded or multi-threaded processor. 56 CUs. So this sounds like a Vega 56 in power is what they're describing. It's going to be about 10 teraflops per rack, and quite a bit of HBM memory. It sounds like they're going to have 16 gigabytes of HBM memory, and it's going to be at I think they said around 4096 bit or something like that. So it's interesting. The thing that's really interesting here is they're saying the power doesn't matter. That if you want to develop like a really powerful game, you can do that. All they're going to do is they're going to start stacking racks on top of each other to do the computation. Now, my question about that is, are they going to charge developers a higher percentage per rack that has to be used for game? If a developer makes a split screen game like they showed, and they had this cool demo where they had split screen on the same screen, but in reality what was happening is it was actually two racks performing, just being streamed on either side. And ideally that's supposed to keep the performance from being bad for either player. So my question is, if they implement a split screen co-op mode like that, does that mean that the developer of the game has to have a higher percentage to Google to use that extra rack, or what's going on there? So I don't know. I'm sure we'll hear about this more throughout the week. It's interesting. It's definitely the future. Now, they did show off some hardware. They showed off a Wi-Fi controller. So this goes directly through Wi-Fi to their service, and then that instance gets streamed back to your device through something like a Google Chrome. They did say you could use USB controllers. However, the catch with that is you have to have something that can hook up through USB. I also assume Bluetooth would work. So if you're using like a tablet or your phone, and you have something like an Xbox One S controller that has Bluetooth built in, and you have it paired that way, that would probably work. But they also said USB, so I imagine like on PCs and any other device that has USB available. However, something like Chromecast, probably not going to work. You're going to need to have the controller for a Chromecast because the Chromecast doesn't have a way for that input to go in. It's not like you can plug it into the TV, because the TV has nothing to do with the processing end anyway. So that's probably where you're going to have to end up getting this controller. It does have Google Assistant built in, so that's interesting. Google Assistant, apparently you can even go to the point, like say if you're playing a game and you're stuck on a level, you can just ask Google Assistant, hey, how do I beat this level? And it's going to have Google's going to have AI on their end. It's going to be looking through a lot of gameplay videos and searching. So like match up where you're at in the game and search YouTube to find gameplay video of where you're at in the game to show you how to beat that part. So that's kind of interesting stuff. Then they have a capture button. I assume it can do screenshots and other stuff like that. Here's the other question. Do I have to have stuff like Twitter? They already own YouTube, so I'm not worried about it. But do I have to have stuff like Twitter or Instagram or anything I want to post pictures or videos to linked to their service? Like, do they have access to that? Not that Google's ever done anything nefarious in the past, right? But yeah, those are some of my concerns with it. And then my main concern is just like ownership of the games, like 100%. Like there's other little things like what happens when you have an internet drop. I don't think that's as big deal as everybody's making it, because remember, this is a decade-long thing. If Google wants to do this, that's good, but this is going to be a decade-long thing. This is not going to be replacing the consoles coming out this next generation. This is definitely going to be something that lives alongside of it, and a few people are going to be using it. Actually, a lot of people might be using it, especially over in places like Korea and stuff, where they have really good internet, both mobile and on land. But I really honestly think this is the way the future is going to go, and we just need to get used to it. Like, I honestly didn't like it when iTunes came around and CDs started kind of going to the wayside. Ironically, you can still get CDs today. So that tells you a little something. iTunes has been around forever. You can still do CDs today. We might see a similar situation still with this. We could be a decade and a half in with like this Google hardware. It may take over like the majority of gamers at that point. But I wouldn't be surprised if somebody like Nintendo or something still doing a console with like physical games at that point. So, or it could go the other way. Who knows? You can never really predict the way technology is going to kind of take over the world or what's going to go to the wayside. It's just, I thought 8 tracks were going to last forever. Also, I'd like to add, I forgot in the Stadia part, so I'm putting this in the Stadia part. I'm technically in the future. Some of the stuff that they were talking about with the Stadia, I just remembered. They said it's going to be 4K HDR in the future, but they also said this is tied to YouTube. If this is the same 4K that YouTube does, HDR that's at 40 megs a second, it's not going to look as good as a 4K console. So keep that in mind. And if you don't think that that's important, let me give you an example. This is what I look like at 720p 30, moving my hands and stuff really fast with a bitrate of 500 kilobits a second. Stuff's kind of important. And if I set the encoder for the CPU down to like super fast, here it is at ultra fast. Yeah, this stuff's kind of important. All right, so up next is the Nindies, and we're just going to fire through these really quick. There's a lot to cover. So the first game that they showed off was actually with this weird guy showing how to pour a cup of milk, and then all of a sudden, Cuphead and... Is it just Cuphead and Cuphead? What's the name of the other dude? I don't know. Anyways, Cuphead and Cuphead come out, and yeah, he put on a freaky mask, by the way. Like, are you trying to scare children, Nintendo? Like, what the hell? He had like a... Never mind. Just watch the video. Description's down below. So Cuphead was up first, so it's going to be cool that that's coming to the Nintendo Switch. I wonder how Nintendo people are going to take that game, because it's pretty hard. Number two, the cool thing that they mentioned on this is apparently they are working with Microsoft, so that's pretty cool. They mentioned, thanks to Microsoft for helping bring it over to the Nintendo Switch. So there does seem to be a relationship there. All right, so the next thing they showed was Overland. It's a squad-based or squad turn-based strategy game. It's made by the same guy that did Cannonball on phones and stuff. I'm actually kind of digging the vibe of this one. I might check this one out. Looks pretty cool. Next up, oh yeah, My Friend Pedro. So I've recently been playing Ape Out on the Switch. It's another Devolver Digital. Ape Out and My Friend Pedro are two games I've kind of been seeing grow up together. However, My Friend Pedro is interesting from Devolver Digital because it's for the consoles. It's a Nintendo Switch exclusive. You can still play it on PC through Steam or whatever. My Friend Pedro is out there. It looks like somebody took ideas from the Matrix, like Beyond or whatever. It's basically almost like a run and gun game, like side-scrolling game with really bizarre stuff. So you can take like skateboards in the world, get down, kick people in the face, sever people's heads, kick people's own heads, or kick other people's heads into people's faces to distract them while you're killing them. You can throw pots up in the air and then you shoot the pots with a bullet and it just sits there and then the bullets bounce off and hit all the bad guys and stuff. That game's nuts. And I want to play it for that. The game looks cool. Neocab. Neocab is a weird one. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure game. You have to like manage, like, almost like you're an Uber driver. You're supposedly the last human driver in this city in California. And there's some kind of mystery going on. I guess at one point somebody in the game, at the beginning of the game, tries to kill you, and that's part of it. But it is you trying to figure out a mystery while trying to manage your cab. Like, you have to manage like your funds, keeping it up and fixed and all that stuff. So could be interesting. Next one looks really, really cool is the Red Lantern. The Red Lantern is a game that kind of, in art style to me, looks a little bit like Firewatch. It's kind of almost looks like a walking simulator like Firewatch, but it's more like a running simulator. So you were supposed to be doing the Iditarod in Alaska, which is a 1,000-mile race to one end of Alaska to the other. And if it's a race where you have dogs on dog sled or whatnot. And they showed like one part where one of the dogs got attacked by a grizzly bear or something, and one of the dogs got killed by the bear, and then the next scene, like, the dog was missing. So it does seem like there's a lot of consequences and stuff that you have to deal with in this game. So I'm interested to see more. It looks like it could be really good. Darkwood. It's a overhead survival horror game. It's apparently procedurally generated. This game is, I don't know, didn't really do anything for me. It does seem like you craft weapons and stuff like that, but I don't know. It just didn't light my world on fire. So Katana Zero is cool. Katana Zero is sort of like, think of like Ninja Gaiden with slowdown mechanics, and where you could deflect bullets back at enemies. And then there's like some weird mechanics and stuff, like you spend time at home, kind of sitting around watching TV. You have to go see your therapist. Apparently, the therapist is giving you some kind of performance enhancing drug or something like that. So I don't know. That game looks. I really like the look and the art style. Kind of look like a GBA game or something like that to me. Um, Rad. Rad is the new game from Tim Schafer and his studio. What is it? Double Fine? Double Fine Games. And Rad is, I don't really know what to think about it yet, if it's like a hack and slash or something like that. But it's kind of like an overhead hack and slash where you're in a post-apocalyptic world, like Fallout or something like that. And as your character runs around, he's like making grass and plants come back to life and grow. He is radioactive, let's put it that way. And it seems like you level up your character by making mutations happen in your character. So there's like one point that they show like he almost has like a snake head or something attached to his butt or something like that. It's very goofy, very weird. It's got a lot of synth wave going on in it. It's definitely a Double Fine game. That much is for sure. Creature in the Wall. This one was interesting to me because it looked something a little bit like art style wise like Hyper Light Drifter, but apparently it's got aspects of like pinball built in. So they showed this person with like a sword, like slinging at a pinball that's hitting like bumpers and stuff going on in the world. It's very interesting. They actually called it a pinball action game. So me being a pinball nut, I can't wait to see what this is. It looks insane. I don't even know how to wrap my head around it. Blood Roots, I don't know what to really say about that. It's kind of like a top-down hack and slash. They didn't really show much other than that. Like they showed the protagonist just jumping around like crazy and stuff. So I know what to think about that. Pine looks like somebody took Breath of the Wild and tried to clone it and added crafting into it. So Pine does interest me quite a bit. I'm really looking forward to that. Then Vlambeer came out and said that they were releasing Super Crate Box later on in spring. And then Nuclear Throne is out today. If you haven't played Nuclear Throne, it's a procedurally generated, basically twin stick shooter, overhead shooter. It's almost identical to Enter the Gungeon. I hate to say this, I actually like Enter the Gungeon more personally, but it's still not a bad game. It's still pretty good. Then they announced Vlambeer Arcade with Ultra Bugs, apparently. So the idea is instead of like making like little bite-sized arcade games like they have been in the past, they're just going to make an arcade and they're going to add, you just buy that arcade and then they're going to add to it as time goes on. Swim Sanity is a underwater shoot 'em up. Simple there. Blaster Master Zero 2, the sequel to Blaster Master Zero that came out towards the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2 years ago, is out today. So if you like that game, there you go. Go ahead and pick it up. It's still $10 like it's like the last one. Stranger Things 3 is out July 4th. It's a top-down pixel style game in the vein of Stranger Things. And it's going to launch the same day as the third season of Stranger Things. And then other than that, they said there's an indie sale currently going on. So if you hop on your Nintendo Switch, you're going to see that there's an indie sale. They'll have all the games listed there and in the news section and stuff. And then they ended it with a little bit of a surprise. A game called Cadence of Hyrule. This is essentially Crypt of the Necrodancers. This is the sequel to it in the art style of Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo, with the character that was playable from Crypt of the Necrodancer. She's playable, as well as Link and Zelda are playable characters in this. And it's in that art style of Link to the Past with the same kind of rhythm-based dungeon crawling stuff going on. So I'm interested. I'm probably going to pick this up. I actually have Crypt of the Necrodancer on PC. And I've played a little bit here and there, and I just, it was good. I never beat it, but I'll probably end up playing this because I like Zelda. So, all right. And last little bit today, Oculus Rift S was shown off. Oculus Rift S is a slight upgrade to the original Oculus Rift, so it's a PC headset. Instead of this time you having to have cameras on your desk for the Oculus Rift, it has 5 cameras built into the headset, and then it's just going to do the built-in tracking like the Quest does. This time it's got a camera on the top, so when you raise your hands up above the Oculus Rift, it doesn't, crap out on tracking that. It'll track up to everything in front of you up to about 180 degrees. They did do a little bit of an upgrade to the displays. It is 1280 1440 instead of 1080 to 1440, I think is what it was last time. But this time, instead of 90 hertz, it's going down to 80 hertz. So I don't know why they decided to do that. It's still better than the 72 on the Quest. But then the Quest has 1600 by 1440. And the Quest also has a OLED display. And if you don't think an OLED display matters, that screen door effect that people talk about, other displays have bleed light through. They bleed the backlight through. Let's put it that way. And even in dark situations, you can kind of pick up on that because of the screen door effect because of that. OLEDs, the pixels illuminate themselves. And so when black is black, that pixel is effectively completely off. There's no light coming through or anything because there's no back layer. The pixel is the light. Because of that, OLED displays tend to look better in VR. If you want an example, look at the PlayStation headset. Even though it has lower resolution display on there, the screen door effect is a lot harder to pick up on that than it is on something like the first generation of Vive, the Rift, whatever. So I think that's kind of a mistake. If I was to get a VR headset, I would probably get the Quest to mess around with because I just don't see VR really taking off in a way that I need to worry about powering it off of a computer or something. There's still going to be very small games, and it looks like from what we've seen so far, the games that people are messing around with and the apps that people are messing around with can be run on a small ARM processor. That's just the reality of it. So I probably am more interested in that on top of not being attached to my PC. When they start figuring out what they really want to do, like a lot of companies start figuring out how to make stuff for VR and whatnot, then I might look at a headset that connects to the PC to get that extra power boost or whatnot. But I just don't think it's necessary. I know a lot of people have the Oculus Go and they just use it to watch Netflix and mess around in like Street View VR and stuff like that. And that's perfectly fine. That's probably what most people are doing with VR anyways. So it's launching this spring at $400, and apparently Lenovo helped design this. So you can kind of see this. Lenovo's had Windows VR headsets that kind of look similar to this. It does have the headband now, like the PlayStation VR. That's almost like a helmet thing. And it's got 2 speakers built into the side, so you don't need to use headphones, but it does have a 3.5 millimeter jack if you want to use your own like earbuds or full-on headset or something like that. Looks cool. I still need to see something that's going to sell me on VR. Like, I'm down for buying VR for $400. I'm just not down to be tethered to my PC or anything like that for $400, especially when they've already shown one that's, going to do it untethered and I can get a good experience that way. So, anyways, you guys let me know what you think in the comments down below. And that's going to be it for Trial Run today. If you haven't, and this is your first time to the channel, hit the subscribe button on your way out. Dingle my bell down below so you get notifications. And you guys, as always, in the comments, tell me what you think. I'm kind of curious. So anyways, although I've been bad at answering comments lately, I'm sorry about that. Been busy. Full-time job and all that stuff. Anyways, later, guys. Oh, and links down below for the videos.